So we recorded a video with Aditi, Srikant, and Dinkar talking about their homeschooling experience. So I was thinking that maybe we needed to go into the details a little bit. So I thought Dinkar was the ideal candidate to talk about that. Because in this previous video, Dinkar was saying that homeschooling was not separate from life. It was just part of life. So it was not something special that was happening. It was like if you're going to school, you are at home, then you going to school is a different part, and then you come back. But if you're at home, it all gets clubbed into the same thing. So he was saying that he couldn't remember it as being separate from life. But I thought that it was nice to make a video where we go into the details of, but what was he doing? For example, we can talk about when he prepared for his 10th and 12th exams. What was the process? How did he go about it? And what did his day look like? So that is one thing we can talk about, and maybe we can go to a previous time when before this 10th thing and talk about a general day. So Dinkar, maybe start with your 10th board preparation, whatever you remember from that.
Yeah, so while I was giving my 10th standard, we were staying in Kerala. We were staying in a rural area. So I took science, maths, social studies, and Sanskrit in 10th. And yeah, so basically I would finish one book at a time. They were quite boring to me. Like I didn't really enjoy social studies, especially. It was one of the most boring ones. So I try to minimize the amount of time I spent studying. So only about the last 4 months I studied like properly for the 10th exam. I used to make mind maps, so I would go through a chapter and write down important points around a piece of paper and connect them if they have any connections. And that helped me revise. I could just look at that and I'll know what was in the chapter.
So it looks like Dinkar doesn't remember too much from his exam giving thing, which is I think is a good thing because people obsess about it a lot. So this mind map thing was also a tool to make studying easy. So the objective in the entire academic part of our work, what the children did, was to try to minimize the importance of academics. The idea was to try to go through it with least difficulty. And from the fact that Dinkar remembered so little about it, it looks like that worked. Okay, before the exam thing, maybe if you can tell us what you remember from your other things. The thing was that each year you had these textbooks that you went through at your own pace, right? And I don't think it ever was very difficult. It was all very easy, right? And there was no testing at all before 10th, and only 10th and 12th were the only two tests that you ever gave, right?
Yeah, so official.
Yeah. Right. So you went through this textbook. Okay, forget about the studying part. What do you remember from your homeschooling experience, from your say 0 to 12th, what children go to school? What do you remember from the time that you spent going at home? What is your homeschooling experience? What of that do you remember?
As a kid, I was very into drawing a lot. So I would draw. I remember going outside around where I was staying and with a sketchbook and drawing. That's something I did a lot. And we were staying at in a gated community at one point where there were a lot of trees. So we would go and climb the trees, go around climbing trees. That was quite fun. There was a lot of outside activity going on, so we were outside the house a lot. In the garden, we had a pond. We would swim in that pond a lot.
So we're trying to talk to Dinkar about his experience with homeschooling. For him, it was so much part of life. He's never been to school that he doesn't seem to remember anything specific about it. Uh, I think they had great fun, all children. But Srikant, can ask Srikant also. Srikant, what he remembers, what was, how did he prepare for his, board exams? What was his day like? Maybe before. So Srikant, two things. One is about your preparation for your exams, and one is before that. What would your typical day look like? Just these two things.
So preparation for exams was for both exams I was in Kerala, and I didn't really have a fixed routine. Like we never had a fixed routine any time. So we basically I had a sort of rough plan on what I needed to. I knew what I needed to cover, and I made a rough plan on how I would cover it, and then I would more or less do, for example, one subject for a week. That was Nana's suggestion. You study one subject for a while, and then you move on to another one. So we had all the books at home. That's it. I'd not study for for too long. I wouldn't study. Maybe as the exams came closer, it was most of the day. But before that, until 3-4 months before the exam, I would just sit for maybe 4 or 5 hours a day maximum. Read the books, do the exercises, make the mind maps, which we talked about, which help you remember and revise what you've done already. And what else? How else did I prepare? Yeah, and then did a lot of other things as well, because we were in Kuttipuram in Kerala. We had this pond outside. We'd go swimming, do work outside the house, take walks. I'd still go and run and see my trains because the railway track was right next to our house. And and then as the exams got closer, I'd basically I got a bit panicky, and I'd spend more time and revise again and again and do more exercises and stuff like that. But overall, it was pretty relaxed, the whole preparation.
Okay, about your other experiences from childhood, what do you
remember? Because we moved a lot, each place has its own memories. So, Calcutta was one bit. I remember not too much from there. And then, where did we go? We went to Bangalore after that? Or Kerala?
Kerala, in Thrissur for some time.
Yeah. So, basically, academics was never a big thing. There would be days when we didn't study at all. We just do other stuff. He would draw. I would make maps. Making maps was my big. I had a time when I would be crazy about making maps, and then drawings of trains and planes and stuff like that. So sketching, a lot of sketching. And then we'd go out and play. In Thrissur, when we were in Thrissur, we had a friend group, and we'd go out every evening and play some games, whatever. Then in Delhi, we also used to be outside quite a lot. We had a lot of classes there, so we'd keep going for classes.
Classes as in music and
music classes, drawing classes. We had what else did we have?
In Delhi, probably in Thrissur, you went to Bal Bhavan.
Yeah.
So Bal Bhavan, you were there.
That was then we had 3 classes. We had drawing, we had clay modeling, we had the Rangam also I had, and then music also I started. So we had a lot of other things to do. So basically, most of the time not at home. Delhi was the same. Then we moved to this place in Bangalore, outside the city, also in the middle of nowhere. So we had a lot of Dinkar mentioned, we were climbing trees and all the time outside the house. And then we moved to the city. There we had again a lot of classes, basketball, music, tabla we started, and what else? Then I think that's when I started reading a lot. I wasn't a very big reader before that, but we had a nice library near the house, and I devoured one book after the other, a lot of different kinds of books. So I think that's when my reading phase started. Then we moved to Kerala again. Again, we were outside the house. So basically, kind of repeating the same things again and again. But academics was always I don't remember anything from that. I remember once in a while we'd get nagged by, not Nana, Amma would not nag, but she'd be worried that we're not finishing our syllabus and stuff like that. So that's the only thing which has really stayed. Apart from that, everything else is basically gone. It was never an important part.
So one thing that comes out very clearly is that academics, on which so many people obsess so much, doesn't even come up too much when we talk about the experience of having gone through an educational journey. And all three children have been into reading, and are well informed about many things. But it was not through this process of going through an academic curriculum, but it was because we are immersed in so many things. There are so many books at home. All of us are into reading, talking. There's so much discussion, so much travel happening. So in that sense, it is probably a picture of what an ideal education can look like. So I'll keep trying to see if we can keep on nudging these people to talk more about their experiences. But for the time being, we'll stop here.